And blessed to be part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Hey, KIDO Talk Radio is your home for Win Kevin Miller's Money. Our Kevin Miller cash code money, well, you know, the word. It's the word, Kevin. Yeah, that's right, the word. It's jackpot. You don't have to go to jackpot to hit the jackpot of up to $5,000. Jackpot. Jackpot is the word. Don't forget to listen at 6 a.m., 8 a.m., and 3 p.m. during the Sean Hannity award-winning show every afternoon right here on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Coming up, we're going to talk to our great friend, Rabbi Spero. Rabbi Spero, hang on. We're going to get to you in 2 seconds. First to Carla in Middleton, who's been very patient. Carla, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kevin. This is Grandma Carla, and I have two things I wanted to say. I miss Liberal Steve's calls. I don't know where he's been.
Okay, well, we need you to stick to the topics, so please go ahead, Grandma Carla.
Oh, and can I also say I'm reading The Spirit in the Sticker Patch by Liberty Linda book I bought.
Yeah?
And it is excellent.
And that's available at Amazon.com, and we appreciate you promoting Liberty Linda.
Okay. I just wanted her to know that I'm enjoying it very much.
The Spirit in the Sticker Patch, the endorsement of Grandma Carla from Middleton. Anything else?
Just put the word out that I want Liberal Steve back on the air.
We got that the first time. You missed Liberal Steve. Duly noted, Grandma Carla. Duly noted.
Thank you. I love your show.
We love you. You take care, sweetie.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Rabbi Spero, you talk to a lot of people. I don't know if you've ever started a segment out on a talk radio show like that, but good morning, sir.
Well, good morning to you and to Idaho.
Good to have you with us once again, and we can't wait to hear what you have to say about good old Mayor Pete and his little thoughts about Mike Pence and going after the Lord.
Isn't he a judgmental guy, this fella? He's accusing the president of not being a godly person. If someone who was conservative or Republican would talk about someone who's a Democrat or a liberal and say, well, you're not a godly person, people would say that's very judgmental, very self-righteous of you. But I guess, like in everything else, if you're from the left, you can make these accusations against people, be very judgmental yourself, very self-righteous, and you get away with it. I think that shows a lot about who this young man is in South Bend. And just if you want to get to some of the things he said, number one, about the president, where he said the president doesn't care about poor people because I guess the president is not a socialist or something like that. He does care. He wants them to have jobs. And what he's done is he's created an environment the president has through lessening regulations and lowering taxes and bringing in investment that people now, the employment is higher than any other time in U.S. history. I think that's the best thing that you can do for a poor person is to make sure they have a job so they're no longer poor. But if you're from the left, that's not the solution. The solution is supposed to be a government program, but that's not how this country was built. And then when he says, this mayor from South Bend, that somehow Trump doesn't care about the stranger, and the Bible talks about caring about the stranger. Well, I care about the stranger too. But there's no question. The Bible was talking about individual strangers that come. You should give them something to eat. We're not talking, though, in the Bible about an invasion of millions of people where it threatens and it endangers the host. Diseases could come in. Infrastructure is destroyed. There's criminality. There, a leader has to do, in the biblical sense, a leader has to defend his people. So I think that Trump is doing many of the things that God expects the leader to do, to defend people from what really is an invasion. And it's more than just women and children, like the liberals like to say. There are a lot of gang members. If you read stories, they're coming in and they're killing innocent people. I think it's the godly thing to do to defend your people. And as far as Pence, I know Pence, he's a very nice gentleman. And actually, when Pence was governor of Indiana, Vice President Pence, he was very gracious to the mayor of South Bend before the election, after the election. And in return, this self-righteous, smug, judgmental mayor goes after the vice president when the vice president, and on a personal level, and that's what counts. How, not your theories, but how you act. And Mike Pence acted like a gentleman, which is part of being a Christian, a biblical person, where this fellow has not. And, you can't judge a person by his theories, but how he acts personally. And Mike Pence is a gentleman's gentleman. But I can't say the same, though, for this mayor of South Bend.
Well, it's interesting that here you have this Mayor Pete, a relative nobody, all of a sudden bursting on the national scene. Let's hear what he had to say concerning Mike Pence. And by the way, the guy ran statewide in Indiana, couldn't get elected dog catcher, and now all of a sudden he's the mayor of South Bend, not a big city, not having a lot of success, but he's the belle of the ball. Rabbi Spiro, I can't wait to hear what you have to say on this one at KIDO Talk Radio.
I can tell you that if me being gay was a choice, it was a choice that was made far, far above my pay grade. And that's the thing I wish the Mike Pences of the world would understand. That if you got a problem with who I am, your problem is not with me. Your quarrel, sir, is with my Creator.
Ooh, Rabbi Spiro.
Mike Pence does not have a problem with the mayor, and Mike Pence doesn't have a problem with anybody who's gay. People can do in this country what they want. The problem is when it comes to pushing a gay agenda, which then threatens people who believe that they should be also allowed to live a life according to their way and not be forced in schools and libraries, be forced to listen to certain propaganda that's coming from the gay community. But as far as if a person like the mayor would just be content, as most of us are, with having whatever sexual orientation, there'd be no problem. He's fabricating this. He's making a straw man. That's what he's doing. Mike Pence, like all of us, says, listen, I might not like a particular activity, but I have nothing against you as a person. And as far as God, I don't know what God has to do with this, but, he's not, because he's gay, he's not more godly or somehow godly favored than a person who's not gay. It implies to me that somehow he's got this like special relationship to God because he's gay and his creator. That's what bothers me about all this stuff. We believe that everybody in this country should be free to do what they want to do on a private basis, but I don't like, and many of us don't like, when they start to impose that we have to, number one, embrace it, and then number two, I don't like when they try to elevate it to a special status, that they're somehow better or they have a closer relationship to God because of their sexual orientation or because of their race. That's when I start to get offended.
Well, and rightfully so, but you have Budovich not backing away. His church married him and his husband, and as he seeks to redefine everything. Now, I got to say, Rabbi Spiro, I don't think it's going to end well for Budovich. I think once people start looking at his record, the unemployment and everything else, that he hasn't really done anything. As you say, he made the straw man argument. He's an intelligent guy. He's accomplished a lot. But his case for president is that of a straw man.
Well, these are all lightweights. There's no big achievement. Now, he did go to a good school. He went to Harvard. I know a lot of people that went to Harvard. That doesn't make them presidential material at all. And I think maybe he even went to Oxford. Same thing. There's one thing is, book smarts, and then there's the other thing is being a person who's had tremendous accomplishments and achievements, and not necessarily in his case. He's the latest darling of the media. Listen, they want so much, the media and the liberals and the left, to defeat Trump. So every day they come up with a new star. It was before it was Pocahontas, and now it's this fellow. He calls himself Beto, but what's his real name? Really, Robert. And today it's a couple of weeks ago was Kamala Harris. They're putting their hope in these the star of the week, Ocasio-Cortez. So they're elevating these people who mostly are lightweights. Some of them are really, in my mind, like almost insane politically. Some of the ideas that they come up with, and they're just lightweights. They're nobodies.
Rabbi Spiro joining us, Caucus for America, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. One more shot here, and this hits close to home to all of us. where you have Buttigieg talking about abortion and his religion, which I really don't know how that mixes, but let's take a listen.
When a woman is facing this decision in her life, I think in terms of somebody besides her who can most be useful in that, the answer to that would be a doctor, not a male government official imposing his interpretation of his religion.
Boy, how about somebody who is a member of her faith?
You know, this is a certain form of paganism, basically saying that we make decisions based on how we feel about something or what pleases us at the moment. People that are truly religious realize that there is an Almighty who did give us a Bible, and there are limitations. The Almighty is not in favor of abortion in the 6th month and 7th month and 8th month and partial birth abortion, and I can even go beyond that. So when he talks on the one hand about his creator, and you would think he was the second coming, this mayor, but on the other hand, he denies that there is a creator who gave us a Bible with certain limitations, which is good for us because otherwise we'd be hedonistic and we would just do whatever we want according to the passion of the moment. And so it's nothing to do with the woman's what she wants at the moment. She has a responsibility to that child that she's carrying, and certainly after a certain time, the Bible, the Creator, conscience, responsible society say, no, you just cannot willy-nilly just get rid of that child. That is a biblical thing, and that's what the Creator, he provides us, thankfully, certain limits to our otherwise hedonistic quests or just fulfilling our passion or our desires, our needs of the moment. So he's off base. This whole idea that God is so loving that he accepts everything that we do, this is paganism. It's not religion. If that would be the case, there would be no need for a Bible. God would just say, listen, I love you. Whatever you do is fine, and I bless you. But there's a whole long Bible of do's and don'ts for the benefit of mankind.
Rabbi Spiro with us, Caucus for America, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Rabbi, we'll get you out on this one. Your thoughts on the president declaring the Iranian Revolutionary Guard a bunch of thug terrorists?
Well, they are. They're terrible. They've been that way since 1979. This president is great. He's acting like a president. You know, we look back now having 2 years of Donald Trump, you wonder, what were these other presidents doing? What was Obama doing, or Clinton, or even George Bush? What were they doing all day? Here's a president that's an activist. That's because I think he was a businessman, and if you're a businessman, you can't sit around and wait for things to happen. You have to make them happen yourself. And besides, he's Donald Trump. This is a once-in-a-century type of man as far as the ability to make a decision, and he's always thinking. It's just tremendous to have him as the president of the United States. He wouldn't be good for Europe. He's precisely, though, good for America. He thinks like an American, and this is the way we were raised with founders like this. He's fantastic.
And Rabbi Spiro, so are you. We appreciate you, and Caucus for America. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you. Take care.
All right, Rabbi Spiro joining us. Just another example of the newsmakers, opinion leaders that we work very hard to get for you each and every morning here. We call it Waking Up on the Right Side. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, the Congress folks, they're going after the president one more time, and you're going, Kevin, what are they up to next? You won't believe this one. You won't believe this one. They want to rescind the Muslim ban. There isn't a Muslim ban going on. You look around in the Treasure Valley, you have people that practice the Islamic faith. They're coming in. You have people that are coming into America. You have the group saying the refugees are welcome. There is no Muslim ban, but Congress looking to go after the Democrats, really, not Congress, the libs, going after the president's ban to keep us safe. That's trending right now. Number one. Number two, we still haven't gotten to the legislature, and the Medicaid expansion bill going through, the urban renewal bill, much to the chagrin of the folks in Boise and Meridian in some places, was approved by the governor, was signed into law. The hemp bill, well, we'll tell you a little bit. We got a lot to do. Here's what we're going to do. Stay with us or join the conversation at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Pro-Life. Good morning, Pro-Life.
Yeah, Cory Booker and Pete Buttigieg, whatever his name is, they're doing the same thing. They're saying they're Christians, and that's why they're all messed up. Like they're for being gay. Now, Booker's not gay, but Buttigieg is, and he is really a pervert, and he's an antichrist, and he's saying things that make no sense.
That's a pretty harsh charge.
It is. He is really perverting Christianity, and the Christian people need to stand up and say this guy is not Christian. He can't be Christian. He's saying that it's okay to murder babies. It's okay to be gay, and marriage is legitimate if it's a gay marriage. That's what he's saying to the American people. Now, the New York Times, CNN, and lots of the big media are promoting him. I read the articles just right now, and that is just so terrible. We should say that they're Antichrist. They are just trying to destroy Christianity by promoting these kind of people. And I'm against it. I mean, I don't accept any of that kind of stuff, that it's okay to be gay.
Well, let's address that here on KIDO Talk Radio. The world has gone gay, Pro-Life.
Yeah, but it's gone crazy too, and it's Antichrist. That you cannot. God never says that you're born gay. Nobody is justified. Like people that lie, can they say, "Well,
what do you say though to people that are the gay?"
Well, you have to say that. Listen, you're outside.
Are you going to say you're the Antichrist? I mean, that's pretty harsh, is it not?
No. If you're saying that gay is right, suppose I'm a heterosexual straight Christian, but I'm saying that it's okay that God creates some people gay, homosexual, and I'm saying that that's okay and that that's okay with God. That isn't okay with God.
Well,
that's a big lie.
Trying to figure out the proper term. I'll just use the old term. The LDS Church haven't they taken a look at
yeah, and
same-sex marriage now or something like that? I think I saw that the other day.
No, what the LDS Church is saying is that some people are just made that way by God, which is a lie, and as long as they don't practice any homosexuality, then they have all the blessings of the church. And then they said that members of the LDS Church can take a political stance to promote homosexuality and sexual perversion, and they don't get in trouble with the church. Now that's Antichrist.
Now wait a minute. They said that they can take a stand of perversion, and that's okay? I don't know about that.
It isn't okay. Every one of us that say that we're Christians, we have to say that nobody's born gay, that God doesn't want that. Nobody is born transgender. Nobody is born to commit adultery, to fornicate.
But people fall from grace.
Yeah, they do. But we have to. I mean, if I'm against God's standard, and I'm too tempted to do that, I have to admit what God's standard is. I can't just say it isn't God's standard. That's the problem. God's standard never changes. And
what about the old saying, you don't judge lest you be judged?
Yeah, that's right. I want to be judged by God's standard, not by the world's standard.
All right.
So I'm saying don't kiss until after you're married. And don't marry. And I'm thankful that my spouse is of the opposite sex. So anyway, I
don't really know where to go with this. You're on fire this morning.
Well, I ought to be. Our world's gone ridiculous. It's just our world is almost Antichrist, the whole darn bunch of us.
They're out to get us.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, I better let you go. You probably got some important callers on there.
Well, you fired people up here this morning, and we appreciate that. Thank you, Pro-Life.
All right. We'll see you later.
All right. Pro-Life joining us. KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Your home for Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up next, we've teased this, the comments of Candace Owens to Congress saying the left uses terms like white nationalism for power to scare, quote, brown people. We'll get that, your thoughts on that. And, of course, we still haven't covered the plethora of bills that were passed yesterday in the Idaho legislature. A lot going on today. We're going to try and get it all in before Glenn Beck with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. Blessed to be with you. Kevin Miller in the morning. Coming up, Candace Owens, a young lady, tells Congress the real story of the real race relations in America. Today, Gary in Nampa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Gary.
Yeah, hello. I was going to make a comment on this. Mayor who was talking about being made gay. You know, everybody's born into. Everybody's born into this fallen world, and Satan will run all sorts of temptations past us, and it doesn't matter. Everybody's going to have, I don't know how you would say it, your favorite temptation. You know, some are going to be, their strongest temptation is going to be homosexual tendencies. The kleptomaniac's strongest temptation is stealing. An alcoholic's strongest temptation is to drink and become drunk. It doesn't matter. It's whether or not you act upon them that matters. And that is where that's the distinction. If you're going to promote those bad habits and try to justify them as being right and encourage others to participate in them, that's the wrongness. The fact that you were tempted or have a leaning towards something, it doesn't matter. You know, we can like each other for that. I'm not sure if I got through here, if I got cut off.
No, we're just listening.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But, you know, everybody has their favorite weakness, you know. The pedophile may like kids, but if he doesn't act upon it, that's not a problem. If he's going to promote it and encourage others to participate in it, that's a problem.
Well, Gary, we appreciate your call. Thank you for listening.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning. Joined by Jeff Manasso of Fox News Radio. Of course, when you hear Fox News on the radio in the Treasure Valley, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Jeff, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin.
Good to have you with us here. Of course, you know, you take a look at, you know, what we're facing and such. And I always want to ask you, what motivated you, before we get to the topic at hand, what motivated you to get into the news business?
I was a DJ, and 9/11, I became a reporter. I woke up that morning, and I just like everybody else was watching the TV, and I called our station, which had a sister station, which was an AM station, and news, and I asked if they needed anything, and they said, come and grab a tape recorder and a microphone and just go out, and I did. So that day I became a reporter, and you know, 10 songs in a row didn't mean crap to me anymore, and I just I loved being a reporter. I loved going out and talking to people and getting the story and being out in the field and just, you know, having a front row seat to history in some cases. So yeah, 9/11, I went from DJ to a reporter.
Well, I never thought of you as a DJ, but you've got the pipes.
Milwaukee's hit music of the 80s, 90s, and today, 94.5 WKTI. How's that?
You still have it. You still have it.
Of course I do.
Jeff Manasso joining us here. Let's talk a little bit about Facebook and Twitter. They've got some issues concerning hate speech and had a chance to tell the folks on Capitol Hill what they're going to do about it.
Yeah, so this was a Democratic-led House Judiciary Committee that took up hate crimes and the so-called rise of white nationalism via social media platforms. It was full of emotion, testimony from victims of hate crimes. We heard political blame with the narrative that social media has fostered the rise in so-called white hate. We heard from the Anti-Defamation League spokeswoman Eileen Hershinoff, who's imploring public leaders to constantly call out bigotry and extremism at every opportunity. We heard from House Judiciary Chairman Democrat Gerald Nadler, who said the president's rhetoric is fanning the flames of language, whether intentional or not. He, according to him, is emboldening white supremacists. We heard from the Zionist Organization of America in Mort Klein testifying that bias is shared. It's shared by the right, it's shared by the left, it's shared by Islam, and he said that Speaker Pelosi and Leader Hoyer defended Muslim Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar after her anti-Semitic remarks, at which point Jerry Nadler, the chair, cut him off with a gavel saying the gentleman's time has expired. But this was the Candace Owens show, conservative commentator and Turning Point USA communications director. She's black, publicly pushing back heavily on testifying that hearing was not about hate crimes, that it was about fear-mongering, power and control, and a preview, according to Owens, of the Democratic 2020 strategy. She said that there's no skin color in patriotism and that black people are not owned by the left. Also testifying that Democrats are manipulating statistics, and according to Owens, the goal here is to scare blacks, gays, Hispanics, and Muslims and helping them squash opposing opinions, ultimately helping Democrats regain control of our country and the narrative which Owens contends they've lost. So, and that was just one example of what we saw yesterday in that fiery hearing.
Jeff Manasso, the story continues. We appreciate you, brother.
You bet.
You're listening to Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Here is what Jeff was describing. Candace Owens from Turning Point USA.
Of growing up in my grandfather's home, it's going to shock the committee, but not once, not in a single breath of a conversation did my grandfather tell me that I could not do something because of my skin color. Not once did my grandfather hold a gripe against the white man. I was simply never taught to view myself as a victim because of my heritage. I learned about faith in God, family, and hard work. Those were the only lessons of my childhood. There isn't a single adult today that in good conscience would make the argument that America is a more racist or a more white nationalist society than it was when my grandfather was growing up. And yet we're hearing these terms sent around today because what they want to say is that brown people need to be scared, which seems to be the narrative that we hear every 4 years right ahead of a presidential election. Here are some things we never hear. 75% of the black boys in California don't meet state reading standards. In inner cities like Baltimore, within 5 high schools and 1 middle school, not a single student was found to be proficient in math or reading in 2016. The single motherhood rate in the black community, which was at 23% in the 1960s when my grandfather was coming up, is at a staggering 74% today. I am guessing there will be no committee hearings about that. There are more black babies aborted than born alive in cities like New York, and you have Democrat Governor Andrew Cuomo lighting up buildings to celebrate late-term abortions. I could go on and on. My point is that white nationalism does not do any of those things that I just brought up. Democrat policies did. Let me be clear. The hearing today is not about white nationalism or hate crimes. It's about fear-mongering, power, and control. It's a preview of a Democrat 2020 election strategy, same as the Democrat 2016 election strategy. They blame Facebook, they blame Google, they blame Twitter. Really, they blame the birth of social media, which has disrupted their monopoly on minds. They called this hearing because they believe that if it wasn't for social media, voices like mine would never exist. That my movement Blexit, which is inspiring black Americans to leave the Democrat Party, would have never come about. And they certainly believe.
There we have it. Candace Owens from Turning Point USA. And earlier we had Tommy Ahlquist on, very good friends with Candace Owens. and they got into it with her. They tried to discredit her. Here you have a woman who was raised by her grandparents, who was a sharecropper, who, in fact, his first job at 5 years old was drying the tobacco leaves, and was never taught that America was bad, was never taught about Jim Crow, even though her grandfather was a victim in the segregated South. That is the beauty that we try to discuss here on this program. You can either look at things half empty, half full, and when we talk about racial unrest, well, why do the mainstream media ignore what's going on in California with the collapsing education system, in Chicago where people are murdered all the time? You know, where is the justice there? Now, they can go after Donald Trump and call him names. They can call me an extremist because I believe the president's doing a good job. And yet they ignore things. That's how powerful they are. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. God bless Candace Owens for making a difference when we're talking about race relations in America today. And Jerry Nadler got mad at her. There was a congressman that played some comments out of context when she was talking about the rise of National Socialism and Adolf Hitler, and she let him have it. You know, the Democrats grabbed the tiger by the tail on that one. And really, it comes down to this. The Democrats, the devious little libs, they blame everybody for the loss. They blame Bobby Mueller. They blame the Russians. They blame the border crisis. They blame everybody except themselves. They blame social media, right? But here you have it. Candace Owens, to quote her, left using terms like white nationalism for power to scare, quote, brown people, right? And she called him out. She can call him out. Everybody else, so they would use the race term on him, right? That's number one. Number two, this is good news. We have Attorney General Barr assembling a team to look into, well, what happened? Why did the FBI go after Donald Trump? Why did they do this? So now the Attorney General finally is going to look things and put things in perspective. And it's about darn time when you have Lisa Page going, you know, we weren't really fans of the president of the United States or the president-elect, but there was nothing there with the Russian collusion. We were told by Obama's Justice Department, stay away from the libs, stay away from the Democrats. Let's have a special prosecutor there. Let's call for the right's version of Bobby Mueller and see where it goes. And by the way, the Attorney General, if you missed it yesterday and you didn't catch Sean's show, the Attorney General said, look, you're going to get the Mueller report. By the way, Bob Mueller was the patron saint of every Democrat right before they disavowed Comey. Right? Comey was the best until he made that announcement about Hillary Clinton. Then he's trying to redeem himself. So Mueller was the best until the report came out. Now they're saying, well, Bob Mueller has been muzzled. We've got to find out what's going on with it. And really the report, everything needs to be released so we can destroy the good Americans that testified. They didn't find anything. Silly little libs. They didn't find anything. So what's the problem? The problem is they're like that person that takes their ball and bat and goes home. They take their ball and bat and they go home instead of staying in the arena, instead of competing in the arena of ideas. They seek to discredit, destroy, derail the rightfully elected president and the people that love him. More coming up next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Gosh, it's great to live in Idaho. So here you have Ilhan Omar recently making comments concerning CAIR, which is the Council on American Islamic Relations. CAIR's job is to get rid of conservative voices. It's just how it is. CAIR has some issues and ties to groups, and Glenn Beck covered this a little yesterday, but I was perusing through this. So here you have Representative Omar, who came to this country, I believe, as a refugee, at a fundraiser for CAIR, a group with ties to terrorist groups, as published reports say, described September 11th in her terms. Now, before we get to that, for me, And for most of us, you listen to that song, Daryl Worley, Have You Forgotten, when you think of September 11th, right? A day that was marked by tragedy, a day where we didn't know where our president was. On this radio station, you didn't know where John and Chris were, right? For me personally, we were managing several radio stations, broadcasting, communicating, and if one of the major cities went down, we were to be the backup hub. I remember New York. I'm sure you remember the sights, the sounds, the images. September 11th. Well, for Representative Omar, it was something different. Let's take a listen on KIDO Talk Radio.
CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties.
Now, again, this is a little inside politics, but CARE wasn't founded after September 11th. Nearly 3,000 Americans died on that day. Mothers, fathers, husbands, wives, children, friends, countrymen, innocents. And here you have an elected member of Congress who will be generous because we live in Idaho, is misguided at best, talking about people were going to lose their civil liberties. Well, no, people didn't lose their civil liberties. In fact, we go out of our way to ensure people have their civil liberties. But to whitewash, I don't know if you can use that term anymore. Well, let me apologize in advance for that. To cover up September 11th and to say that CARE are the good guys. Well, the people that elected her in Minnesota, either they're equally as misguided or they just don't love America. How in the world can you say the tragedy of September 11th, the attack on this country, on our air system? Remember, right after that, there were no flights over the United States of America. Every channel, those of you that can remember watching television when it mattered, you had the news on it. You had Dan Rather, a noted broadcaster, noted newsman, on MTV, right? Peter Jennings everywhere, Tom Brokaw everywhere. People were coping. And here you have one of the highest honors that one could get, that one could achieve in our country, being a member of Congress. I don't know. If I'm running the Democratic Party, if I'm Tom Perez, their chairman, if I'm running the Minnesota Democratic Party, you've got some issues here. We're not talking about, and here's a woman that already got a pass for her anti-Semitic comments, saying, it's all about the Benjamins, not about this country, in relation to Israel. Think about this. This is Ronna McDonald, the RNC chairwoman. Nearly 3,000 Americans lost their lives to Islamic terrorists on 9/11, yet Omar diminishes it as some people did something. Now, not yet has Nancy Pelosi or any Democratic politician condemned those comments. One more time, please.
CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties.
Right, because all of you, to quote you, Representative Omar, well, all of you and your civil liberties were much more important than what really happened. Here you have Representative Omar saying 9/11 was just an event where some people did something, playing the victim at a fundraiser for the Council on American Islamic Relations. More coming up next. Traffic and weather together. KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Dave. We really don't have a person of the day, but maybe we should come up with that. When you listen to people on television or radio, they have this segment, that segment. hey, we're going to do this. Hey, we're going to do that. And that's wonderful and exciting and inviting. But you have to say, if we were going to elect a person of the day, it would have to be Idaho Governor Brad Little. Why? Well, you take a look at the urban renewal bill. That's big. That's big for taxpayers. The governor signing that into law is a break from the urban renewal boondoggle in Boise's that has been running amok for quite some time. You also take a look at the governor signing Medicaid expansion. Again, we're going to continue to look at this based on 1159 went down, the initiative bill, but even though they're already going to sue, even though the law doesn't take into effect, he signs it. Good for him. Great job, Brad Little. God bless everybody. Keep the faith.